Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jackie and today I am here to do my July 2019 wrap up. So in the month of July, it finally happened, guys. I finally beat the reading slump. After exactly a year of being in this massive slump, I finally beat it, and I'm honestly shocked because there was a lot of stuff going on in July, but what I think really drove it in to push me to read as much as I did was the fact that I did so many readathons in July. That really did help, and you know, I'm so glad to be finally out of it, and hopefully this will be it for good and nothing will come out of it again, but you know, you never know. So without me rambling on any further, let's jump right in and get started. Off with my monthly stats as always. In this month of July, I read a total of 7 books. 6 of those were physical books, 1 of those was an ebook. I listened to no audiobooks, and I read no review books, and then I participated in 3 readathons. As far as genres, I read 3 fantasy novels, 2 science fiction, and 2 mystery, horror, or thrillers. And then as far as star ratings that I gave out no 1 stars, no 2 stars, 3 stars, or 4 stars, and then no 5 stars, and then 1 book I gave no rating. So that is my monthly stats. Now let's get into the books that I read. The first book that I read in the month of July is the only book that I did not read as part of any readathon, and that is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I read this as part of the Throne of Glass read-along that is hosted by Miss Sassy Cassie and Brittany's Book Find. I'll go ahead and link all the information for the read-along down below for you guys, and this was our book for July. I have been a co-host for the past few books. I will be doing Air of Fire. We'll see after that what happens, but yes, I finally reread this again. I have been rereading the series since 2017. I initially read it in 2016. I do have a full review of the first 5 books in the series up on my channel. I'll go ahead and link it on the screen. And I just really enjoyed getting the chance to reread this. This is always my favorite book up until I read Tower of Dawn recently, and I definitely can see why that was the case when I first initially read it. So this is, if you guys are not familiar with the series, a new adult high fantasy series that follows our main character Selena Sardathian, who is the most feared assassin in all of this land. In the first book, she is currently in prison, and the only way she can escape and earn her freedom is by entering this competition to become the king's main assassin. And it's very Hunger Games style-esque, that competition in the first novel. And there's danger, and it's just, I love it. I do really enjoy this series. Sarah J. Maas is my favorite author of all time. I do prefer her ACOTAR series over Throne of Glass, but this series will always have a special place in my heart. And I end up lowering this book from a 5-star to a 4-star just because I did see some issues with it that people have always had with the series in this reread. So I definitely still love it, not as much, so I end up lowering this to a 4, but again, still really love it. The second book I read in the month of July is the first book I read for the Book Junkie Trials, and this was a month-long readathon that was hosted by Regional Read Book Junkie, and this was to fulfill the challenge of Old Pirate Road, which is to read a book that is dark, gruesome, or gritty. For this, I went with Cujo by Stephen King. This is a book that has been on my TBR for probably at least 3 years, if not more. My brother and my dad have both read this, and they kind of have been middle of the road on it. They haven't loved it, they haven't hated it. I happen to be a huge fan of Stephen King, so I wanted to pick it up because this is my first Stephen King read of the year. I'm trying to read half of his work this year, and I gave this 3 stars. It was not my favorite thing in the world. It is a horror novel. I see horror in quotation marks, and it follows a rabid dog, and he just goes crazy as the disease, you know, invades his brain, makes him do all sorts of crazy stuff. Again, I gave this 3 stars. It was definitely, again, middle of the road. I expected it to be scarier because rabies is a horrible disease that does all sorts of crazy things to your brain, like I just mentioned, and I just didn't get enough of that. It's not a very long novel, and I think if the horror elements had come into play earlier, I would have really enjoyed it more. That just wasn't the case. It didn't really come in until like the last 100, maybe 50 pages in the book, so yeah, it just wasn't scary enough for me, and I gave it 3 stars. The book that I read for the Book Journey Trials was Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant, aka Shauna McGuire. This fulfilled the challenge of Old Pirate Grove, which is to read a book that takes place at least partially on the sea. And this is another just middle of the road book for me. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. It was just average. This is an adult sci-fi novel. It does have some horror elements, but I would classify it more on the sci-fi side. And it follows our main character, who is a marine biologist, and basically 7 years prior to this book taking place, a news crew was sent on an expedition to find out if there's actually mermaids in the Mariana Trench, and our main character's sister was part of that expedition. She was never seen again. So 7 years later, the same company that sent out the first expedition sends out another one with our main character on it back to the Mariana Trench to discover again if the rumors are real and to bring some closure to the families affected. And I again wanted this to be scarier. Just did not have enough horror elements to it. I had gone in learning or knowing that this book was going to be scary, and there's definitely some parts that were definitely like that, but just not enough for me. I do like Shauna McGuire's books. I have read a few of them in the past. I've read the first 2 books in the Wayward Children series, and I have Middle Game on my TBR, so I'm going to get to that very soon. But again, just middle of the road for me, and I give it 3 stars. On to the books I read during the final Bibliothon that was taking place during the middle of July. This is a reason that I was a blogger host for the past couple of rounds for, and I really wanted to support my friends and participate in the final round ever. So the first book I read for that readathon was Aurora Rising by Jay Kristoff and Amy Coffin. I actually technically finished this a couple of days after the readathon ended, but I did read the majority of it during the readathon, so I'm still counting it. This one is a YA science fiction novel that is following 7 characters in a ragtag group of newly elected space cadets, and I don't know really how to explain it more than that because it's challenging. There is kind of a war going on, and after this girl Aurora wakes from her sleep after 200 years, she plays a major role, and what happens after that, again, it's very hard to explain. I read Illuminate by these authors last June, and I think that was a book that put me in a reading slump, and I really did not like it. It was just not for me, and I've heard very mixed reviews about this book. Some people have really liked it, some people have hated it, and I'm just, again, middle of the road on this one. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. I was honestly quite bored for the majority of it. Nothing really happened, and the only thing that boosted up from a 2 to a 3 was the ending. I really enjoyed the ending, and can I see myself continuing on with the series? Possibly, if I hear enough good things about the next installment in the series, but I don't know. We'll see. And this book that I read during the Bibliothon was Lumberjanes Volume 1 by Noelle Stevenson. This fulfilled the challenge of just reading a graphic novel. I will say that I am very new to the graphic novel world. I have read a few, actually by few I just mean one series, and that was the entirety of Saga, and I'm obsessed with it. So this is my first venture into anything other than Saga, to be completely honest. And this is a middle grade urban fantasy graphic novel that takes place at a summer camp, and it's following our group of characters who are kind of like Girl Scouts, and they're at this camp, and there's magical things going on in the forest, and I won't say much more than that. I thought this was cute, and I really liked the art style, and the plot was pretty interesting, but again, I'm still kind of new to the world of graphic novels, and I gave this 4 stars, but it's more like a 3.5 rounded up to 4, so I don't think it was inherently bad, and I might continue on with the series. We'll see, but yeah, 4 stars. Moving on to the books I read during the reading rush, I managed to read 2 books during that readathon at the very end of July, and the first one of those was Salem's Lot by Stephen King. This fulfilled the challenge of reading a book and watching the book to movie adaptation. I still haven't watched the adaptation because I literally finished this book on the last day of the readathon. But I loved it. It was a 4-star read for me. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. It is a classic Stephen King horror novel. And this is one that definitely has those horror elements to it that I was looking for in the other books that I mentioned. And this one is taking place in a small town in Maine, as most of Stephen King's work does. And it follows our main hero Ben, who travels back home to this town to get some inspiration for his new book that he is writing surrounding this mansion that has ties to the mafia. And I won't go into the nitty-gritty details of exactly what happens, not to give away spoilers, but two boys go missing and only one of them comes back alive, and there's some spooky paranormal stuff going on from there. If you guys are fans of Stranger Things, you will love this book. I don't personally love that show, but it gave me elements of that show that in this book. I will say that. So, if you're a huge Stranger Things fan, pick this up. If you're a huge Stephen King fan and haven't read this, pick it up. I really enjoyed it and I gave it 4 stars. And the last book that I read during the reading rush, as well as in July, was another reread for me, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is book 1 in the ACOTAR series, and I don't really need to explain myself on this one. I love the ACOTAR series. It is right up there with Harry Potter as far as my favorite series of all time, and that's saying a lot. This one, I didn't give a rating. The past 2 times I read it, I give it 5 stars, so it's standing at a 5. And I just love it so much, and I don't know when I'll continue on with my reread of it. I have 3 more books left to go before I'm done with a reread, and I don't know when the next installment's coming out, so we'll see. And I just really enjoy this. This fulfills the challenge of reading a book with 5 or more words in the title, which this does. And yeah, I love it. If you guys aren't familiar with it, is another new adult high fantasy series that follows our main character Feyre, who is a huntress, and she's out hunting in the woods one day for her family before they starve to death, and she accidentally kills a wolf. She thinks nothing of it, and later that night a fae comes to her house and tells her that wolf was actually a fae, and to get revenge for killing that fae, she has to go to the fae lands and live the rest of her life, one life for another, basically. And there is definitely some problematic elements to it. It's not a perfect series by any means. I just love it. I think it's really good. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. This first book is. The second book is a Hades and Persephone retelling. So I just really love it. 5 stars for me. And that's everything I have for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Be sure to know in the comments down below what you guys read in the month of July, as I would love to know. And as always, all my social media links are linked down below for you guys to go check out if you guys are following on any of those. And all being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you soon for another video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye!